Here we have Ilo and Koa. Koa is a dun Kiger Mustang, and Ilo is a buckskin Mustang from the Wyoming BLM. This is the girl's first day working on leading at Liberty. Koa is on my left, and Ilo is on my right. Koa is quite a bit more experienced than Ilo, and has no problem with people being on the offside. Because it's a push for Ilo to just be in the arena working at Liberty with another horse, we're letting her have the easy side today. I can tell you though that we did the same exercise a week later, and Ilo ended up doing great leading on the offside. One of the great things about this video is that you'll see the difference between these two horses' personalities. Koa is a left-brain extrovert, and Ilo is a right-brain introvert. Koa tends to be playful, a bit rambunctious, definitely a pocket pony. She's always ready to use her energy. And Ilo tends to be shy, timid, and a little bit withdrawn. Their differences are evident in their body language and the ways that they respond to my movement. This might not be so obvious to you, though, if you didn't have a lot of experience with different personalities. Another thing that you could notice if you were trying to hone your ability to notice differences in personalities is that whenever Koa has a moment where she just runs out of sight of the camera, she's going over to Les to say hello. Les is Koa's security, and he's also going to her because she's looking for more play, because she doesn't feel like she's getting enough attention. Meanwhile, Ilo, whenever we go by something like a halter on the ground, stops and targets. The behavior that Ilo is most comfortable with is putting her nose on objects. Right-brain introverts tend to be really drawn to the target game. As soon as they realize they can interact with their environment safely by repeating the same behavior with different objects, they become target homing beacons. Ilo will make a target out of absolutely anything. This has been true of every right-brain introvert I've ever taught to target. Another way that the differences in these two mares' personalities is manifest in this video is the way that the two of them respond to different objects. Koa tends to ignore most of the obstacles in the ring, while Ilo walks carefully around them, still trying to focus on the leading task at hand, but being very clearly shaken by the presence of this unforeseen obstacle. When you're working with a left-brain extrovert, one of the biggest things that you can do to get them focused and prepared to ride is to have them participate in their environment. Move them over jumps and through obstacles and under and over things until you really feel like they're focused and aware of their surroundings. Essentially what you're doing then is channeling their adrenaline into something productive. With right-brain introverts like Ilo, they tend to be painfully aware of every little thing in their surroundings. You wouldn't think that they're aware because they tend not to show it. They tend to kind of hide. I often tell people that the way a right-brain introvert shows its timidity is to kind of put its head in the sand, like an ostrich. We've since learned that ostriches don't really do this, but it's a good metaphor all the same. What I work to do with Ilo is to change her focus from the obstacles in the environment to focusing on the interaction with me. While with Koa, I look for her to approach the obstacles more deliberately. With Ilo, I look for her to pay less attention to every little detail about the obstacle and pay more attention to overarching themes in what we do with the obstacles. So for example, I'm going to work with Ilo on just stepping right onto the bridge and just continuing to follow me as if the bridge weren't there at all. Here she paused at the bridge a few times and then comes all the way up, which was a huge step for Ilo, and it was great to see her worry less about carefully stepping on the bridge and think more about getting up next to me where she knew she was supposed to be. Meanwhile, Koa climbs right up on top of the box and then continues to paw it, as even though she climbed directly on top of it, she didn't actually really know where it is. Extroverted horses like Koa tend to be so busy playing and moving about that they don't actually spend any time knowing precisely where their feet are. Ilo, on the other hand, knows where her feet are to the centimeter, maybe even to the millimeter. In many ways for Koa, this is a boring, pointless, altogether too easy exercise. But one thing that it is doing is helping to get rid of unnecessary movement. My hope is that by continuing the free-leading exercise, Koa will realize that shaking her head and pinning her ears and speeding up and slowing down and going away from me and then towards me have nothing to do with whether she gets the treat or not. The way that she does get the treat is by staying next to me and staying in pace with Ilo and waiting patiently for me to click. Here I'm working with Ilo on staying up with the two of us and actually crossing over the small jump. Ilo has no interest in having something under her belly. It's an idea that she finds most uncomfortable. What I do to convince Ilo that it's okay to give this a try is I have Koa go back and forth over it a few times. When this isn't enough convincing for Ilo, which it often isn't for a right-brain introvert, I work with her on going one step at a time, or in this case, as Pirelli would say, nose, neck, maybe the feet. So I'm clicking Ilo for trying to get over the jump with her nose. I hold my hand out as a target, and when she leans towards it, and touches my hand, she gets a click. One thing that you have to do is not use your hand as like a carrot on a string. What you want to do is set your hand out at a specific height, at an achievable distance, and then not move it. You have to know where you want it from the beginning. If you move your hand and try and lure the horse over, it's bribery or baiting, and no one really likes to be egged on that way. If instead what you do is hold your hand out at what you think is a fair trade for the treat, your horse will try. A lot of times people, particularly with trailer loading, will focus so much on getting the horse's nose on the trailer and the front feet in the trailer that they'll completely forget about the back feet. When you're doing an exercise like this, after you get the nose to come towards the desired target and the neck to really reach for the target and then the front feet, what you should do then is hold out for the back feet. Don't let the horse keep creeping the front feet up. Don't stop them from doing that, but don't reward it. Just wait for the back feet. Oftentimes what I've found is the first time the horse gets clicked for the back feet, then they come all the way in the trailer on the next click, because they figured out that what really matters at this point is getting the back feet closer. Here you see Ilo leaning over the jump, and she's still not quite ready to commit. I'm having some trouble ignoring Koa's mugging while I wait for Ilo, but what I'm beginning to do is to ask her to hold her head still and stand quietly for a few minutes with her nose on my hand as a target while I wait for Ilo. Because Koa keeps shaking her head, she's not able to earn a treat, but in a few minutes you'll see that she does. Here I back Koa up a little bit, and then hold my hand out as a target. When she's able to reach for the target, which I'm holding inopportunely under her chin, she then earns her click and treat. After Koa is out of the way, and Ilo feels less pressure, you'll actually see her lift her left front leg up and try. If you have to, go back and rewind the video for a second, because she does lift it up, and it's absolutely critical to click for that try. When you're working with two horses, it can be easy to miss such a small try as that, but for a right-brain introvert, sometimes those are the most important things that they can do. Just there you see Ilo roll the jolly ball with her nose, while Koa takes off for a quick visit with Les. Though these two mares have polar opposite personalities, I hope that, with some more practice on working together, each horse will become more balanced.